Welcome to our Sports Pad, your half-hour weekly look at Sooner sports from our perspective. I'm Josh Kopelman.
And I'm Lindsay Ruda.
Coming up on Sports Pad, Oklahoma football bounces back on Senior Day.
We look at the faces behind those rowdy Boomer and Sooner mascots and later talk with the ultimate Sooner fan about his passion, Oklahoma sports.
Hello and welcome to our Sports Pad. I'm Josh Kopelman, she's Lindsay Rude, and we're back after the Thanksgiving holiday.
And a lot of Sooners were still out of town over break during the Iowa State game, but you were there, Josh.
I was there. It was cold, wet, windy, and that makes for a low-scoring game against Iowa State. It was Senior Day. Frank Alexander, Travis Lewis, Ryan Broyles, and Austin Box's family there for Senior Day all being celebrated. But Sooners started out slow. This pass is tipped and caught by Gary Albert to give Iowa State a 6-3 lead. They'd missed the extra point. The Sooners, they got the belldozer. Next possession, he's faking the run. He's going to pass it, and it's picked off in the end zone. Really slow start for the Sooners. They would come back as the belldozer gets redemption here. Says, "You're not tackling me," into the end zone. It's 10-6 OU lead. Still second quarter, same score. The belldozer again for the second time today into the end zone. 17-6 OU with the lead there, but defense was a story of the game for the Sooners. This pass tipped by Tom Wart. Travis Lewis comes up with the interception. He runs it back to the end zone, but a block in the back negates the touchdown. Sooners, though, kick a field goal on that point, and they win it 26-6. Both teams had 4 turnovers, but OU had more than double the total yards of Iowa State. The Sooners had 253 yards on the ground and 256 through the air. But the defense was the key in this one, and the OU coaches and players talked about it after the game.
I feel like, we played the play that they scored on pretty good too. It was just a lucky tip.
Our guys really answered a number of challenges throughout the game, being in around midfield or after turnovers, really responded time and time again. And even when they made some plays, really happy with how they responded.
They don't really get near the goal line and really didn't really approach many field goals. So it was, it was pleasing to play soundly and to limit them the way we were able to.
We're just coming down off this Iowa State game. I'm proud of the defense, and I feel like our preparation during the week showed today. But Oklahoma State's a great team, and I know we have to get started on it tomorrow.
The big game this weekend is Bedlam. Both teams are in the BCS top 10. Here are the standings. LSU is still number 1, followed by a team they beat this season, Alabama, who's number 2. Oklahoma State is 3rd, then Stanford and Virginia Tech.
The undefeated Houston Cougars have risen to number 6, followed by Boise State at 7. Arkansas is at number 8 after their loss to LSU last weekend. And despite the Sooners' win this weekend, Oregon leapfrogged them for the number 9 spot, with Oklahoma rounding it at 10. And joining us here in studio once again is Andrew Ford with a look at the game. Now, how important is it, Andrew, for the defense to make the statement that they did last Saturday?
Well, it was huge for the defense in the mere fact that they've been giving up so many yards this year to Baylor, Texas Tech, Missouri. Iowa State's a pretty good offensive team, but the Sooners held them to under 250 offense. They came out, they hit them in the mouth, they caused turnovers. They had the big interception, would have been a pick 6 negated by the penalty. Caused 2 fumbles. It was just big day for the defense and what they needed to do going into a big game this Saturday.
And you talk about how it was a really big game for the defense, but what about the offense? How important was their presence given the condition with all the injuries they've had this season?
Oh, the conditions, the elements, everything that's gone wrong for the Sooners offense, they played about as good as they could in those conditions. You had 45-mile-an-hour gusts. It was cold. It was raining. Landry Jones had an okay day, good enough for the conditions that they were in. But the big key was the fact that the Sooners had over 256 yards rushing, and that would have been almost 300 if they hadn't had 35 yards negated by a muffed punt that early in the first half that went sailing over Tressway's head. That lost them 35 yards. But it was a big day for the Sooners in the mere fact that they were able to run the ball very effectively.
And, it was Senior Day there in Norman. And, talking about the seniors that were out there and their commitment to this program, Austin Box's family was there. How key have they been, and what is their loss going to do for the Sooners in the coming seasons?
Well, this is a very important group of seniors for this program. You have Ryan Broyles, Travis Lewis, Frank Alexander. I mean, you look at Donald Stevenson, James Hanna, Trent Rattery. There's 15 seniors on this team, and it was just huge. And I think the fact that, Austin Box's family was out there, Austin's jersey, his sister was holding up his jersey. I think it was huge for this group, especially the fact that they've had 2 Big 12 championships, going for a third, going into the Bedlam game. It was just great for the seniors.
And speaking of the Bedlam game, always a huge game of the season, probably second only to the Texas game, and a lot at stake. OSU, here at 3, the Sooners down there at 10. What are some key elements for Oklahoma going into this game that they're usually pretty much a powerhouse in?
They got to run the ball. They have to run the ball effectively like they did against Iowa State. The thing is, OSU is a great offensive team. OSU's going to put up points. The thing is, run the ball, keep the ball out of OSU's hands. OSU has Justin Blackman, Josh Cooper. Brandon Whedon is a great quarterback, 28 years old. He's very mature. And then you have Joseph Randall as the running back. OSU's offense is very high-powered. OU's on offense needs to run the ball effectively, and on defense need to take away the big playability that the Cowboys are very able to put up. And Bedlam is always a crazy game. You look at last year, it was a close game, took 2 big plays there at the end. Anything can happen in Bedlam, much like OU Texas, but anything can happen.
Well, we look forward to what will hopefully be a very exciting game for both teams. Andrew Ford, thank you again for joining us in studio. We're going to take a quick break, folks, but when we return, you see them out and about at sporting events. And now we take a look at the guys behind Boomer and Sooner. Stick around. Welcome back to our Sports Pad. Most OU fans are used to seeing Boomer and Sooner on game day. OU Nightly's CJ Gardner tells us what goes on behind the mascot uniform.
The people in the Boomer and Sooner outfits do a lot for the university, and the OU mascots take pride in being part of the Spirit community here at OU.
Really, it's the opportunity to interact with OU fans. It's a big deal here at the university to be part of this Spirit community and really get involved with the university.
The mascots program is a new thing, and they are still working on building their program.
It's kind of unique. Most schools, their mascots been around for 30, 40 years. Boomer and Sooner, it's relatively young. Our first year was 06, so each year we continue to improve the program, add to the program.
Part of the mascot program is volunteering around Oklahoma.
We're really active in the community. Last year we did about 270 external appearances for various charities like USO, Children's Miracle Network. We do a lot with OU Hospital.
Fans may only see Boomer and Sooner cheering on OU teams, volunteering around Norman, or dunking a basketball, but the mascots are working on something bigger as they aim to become national champions.
Well, Nationals is really our national championship. It's the top 10 mascots in the nation.
The mascots will be looking to compete in Florida in January to be crowned best mascot in the nation.
It's just a good feeling, just putting it in. No different than basketball or football preparing for the national championship. We take it just as serious. It's our goal all year. We want to go to nationals, we want to compete, and we fully expect to win.
The mascots do a lot to support OU sports teams, but always have an eye on preparing for their own national competition. CJ Gardner, OU Nightly.
The mascots have sent in their video for nationals. They are looking to receive a bid for the January competition in Florida.
Sports Pad is taking a timeout, but when we come back, we talk about the worst part of home football games, parking. Welcome back to Sports Pad. Crowds of more than 85,000 people pack Gaylord Family Memorial Stadium on game days. Here's a look at how students can profit from the large crowds.
Before Oklahoma Memorial Stadium can rock on Saturdays, the fans need somewhere to park. When game day supply meets demand, there is opportunity for students.
We do pretty well. We have this whole corner lot in the backyard as well, and we put 35 cars, charge about 15 a car, so.
Students like Colin Kraft live close enough to the stadium to sell parking spots on his front lawn, which helps him and his roommate Max Kraft make money.
We have competition across the street, and they like to lower their price to $10, which makes us harder to fill up. But I think our competitive advantage is that we do provide a party-like atmosphere and give away free food and drink. So people pay, a better price to get a better time.
Max and Colin say it's the atmosphere that makes them stand out.
It's usually a pretty happy atmosphere. I come down. People are usually parking pretty early in the morning. It's a lot of fun. We have all our friends come in, we eat, play some games, watch some games, and just get around. Nice to be around you, I guess.
For Max and Colin, parking cars on game day is fun and profitable, and they will continue to park cars on game days for the rest of football season.
One of the toughest things for the roommates is getting to the games themselves. They said the yard doesn't completely fill up with cars until about 20 minutes before kickoff.
Parking was not a problem for the Sooner basketball team because they were in California this weekend. The men's basketball had a good run at the 76 Classic tournament. The Sooners won their first game of the tournament against Washington State 74-59. The second game against Santa Clara was closer, but Stephen Pledger scored 26 points and Andrew Fitzgerald had a double-double as the Sooners edged the Broncos 85-73. Sunday, the Sooners lost by 20 as St. Louis bombed it out from the three-point line. The loss was Coach Kruger's first loss at the tournament and also his first at Oklahoma. The Sooners take on Sacramento State Friday at the Lloyd Noble Center at 7.
The women's basketball team had a similar week at Vanderbilt's Thanksgiving tournament. OU lit up the Liberty Eagles Friday night, 76-45. Saturday, though, the Sooners fell to host Vanderbilt Commodores. Aaron Ellenberg put up 22 points, but the Sooners committed 23 turnovers and lost 78-66. Next up, the Sooners face 19th-ranked Ohio State Sunday at the Lloyd Noble Center.
The Sooner volleyball team finished its regular season this week with mixed results. On Wednesday, the Sooners took down Texas Tech at home 3-1, but fell to Texas on Saturday in Austin 1-3. With the regular season over, 5 Sooners have been awarded Big 12 honors, including the second first-team honors for seniors Brianna Barker and Susie Belvoski. On Friday, OU will take on Tulsa in the opening round of the NCAA Division I championship in Los Angeles.
The OU wrestling team won its second Big 12 match yesterday, beating the Iowa State Cyclones 22-13. The Sooners gave the Cyclones their 5th straight loss and tallied 3 decisions, 2 majors, and 1 technical foul. Next up, the Sooner wrestling team will be traveling to Stillwater for Bedlam against Oklahoma State on December 11th.
Coming up on Sports Pad, Andrew Ford returns in studio with the ultimate Sooner fan, Geoff Roughface.
Stick around. Sports fans like to say they are committed to their teams, but some fans are just more committed than others. Here's the story of one diehard Sooner fan.
Some sports fans collect mementos of their favorite teams,
Do you remember that?
while others have different ways of showing support with different traditions.
There's a volleyball game that night, so I was like, hey, why not? Let's go check it out. Let's have some fun. Let's heckle some people. And so that's how it all started.
Geoff Roughface is a 5th-year senior at the University of Oklahoma. He has been to well over 200 sporting events as a student.
I've been to football, obviously, basketball, men's and women's, even scoped out a bit of a golf tournament, softball, soccer games, baseball games, a lot of baseball games, wrestling match, tennis match, men's and women's, and rowing. Volleyball too, of course.
Geoff is, man, he's just kind of crazy. Volleyball games, he's always going around to people and trying to get them to stand up. He's just got it going on when it comes to being a fan.
It's difficult for Geoff to make every home game because some games have time conflicts. One thing that did help out Geoff was his old job. He used to work for Sooner Vision, which puts graphics on the Jumbotrons during football games.
I would have been at the games anyway, even if I weren't working, just because I like going and heckling people. It's a lot of fun. That's the student section. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to, create the home court atmosphere.
Going to OU games is something Geoff will never forget.
Most every game I've ever been to, I've got a box full of tickets and ticket stubs. Every game I've worked, I've got the press passes and stuff like that. Just a nice little memento. Just whenever I go senile and go through Alzheimer's, I can say, hey, I was at this game. I don't remember it, but apparently I had the ticket stub.
Geoff plans on graduating this May, which is just enough time for him to catch the rest of football season and all the spring sports.
All right, I'm Andrew Ford, and now joined by the OU superfan, Geoff Roughface. Geoff, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Andrew?
Pretty good. Now, as we just saw, in reality, how important is the University of Oklahoma to you personally?
Oh, man, it's, like I said just there in the package, it's a great part of my life. It's a great part, I think, of any student's life that, goes here. just academically, athletically, we're just top-notch across the board. You know, of course, academically, we're still striving to get up there with Texas and some of the other bigger schools and like that. But, you know, David Boren's got a good head on his shoulders. He's leading us in the right direction. And, you know, I think OU is bar none. You know, we're up there with everyone else.
Now, you are a diehard Sooner fan, correct? Yes or no?
You could say that, I guess.
Okay. So I got a couple questions I want to ask.
Okay.
You. Volleyball coach Santiago Restrepo versus a Grizzly Bear. Who do you have winning?
That one, hands down, has got to go to Coach Santiago. I've seen him go up against some of the refs that have called net violations and all the other, you know, bogus penalties against us in volleyball games. And the way he reacts whenever there's a foul called against his girls, it is much akin to like you said, a grizzly bear protecting her cubs. So I would not want to face Santiago just, you know, alone if I were that grizzly bear, because if I were that grizzly bear, I would just go ahead and take off and run.
Okay. Now, OU baseball coach Sonny Galloway, very famous for having his little number 2 pencil right there in his hat. Has to get his hat a quarter size bigger.
Yeah.
Sonny Galloway versus Darth Vader in a lightsaber match. Sonny using his number 2 pencil. Who wins?
And again, this one is hands down. You got to give it to Sonny Galloway. I mean, Darth Vader is more about the deep breathing, the more, you know, James Earl Jones persona about him. Sonny Galloway, on the other hand, is just himself. He wears that pencil like it is his business, like it is his birthday suit. It does not leave him. I've seen him outside of the baseball field, and he still has it there. And I'm just saying, you know, if it came down to Darth Vader, like, Sonny would just whip that thing out, and it would be one done, just like he did Obi-Wan Kenobi.
All right, now we got Bob Stoops, football coach, versus Clint Eastwood in a staring contest.
Oh, man, you know, I don't think I've ever even seen Bob Stoops blink. And I've been here on campus for 5 years. I've been watching OU football since Bob Stoops got here and obviously before. But Bob Stoops' stare, I just don't think can be matched. I mean, it's up there with Jon Stewart's on that just plain awkward business whenever you don't want to mess with him when it comes to that blank stare.
All right, now, finally, Geoff, Bedlam prediction, OU versus OSU. What's the score?
Thing is, I think Landry Jones is going to have a hard time just running it up on the Aggies. And I think it's going to end up being 98-0 before Landry's just like, you know, it's terrible. I'm just going to take a knee in the end zone. And the thing is, he's going to be at the 35 whenever he just runs back and just sprawls out there.
All right, Geoff, thank you for coming on. There you have it, Sooner fans. Geoff Roughface, super fan. The bar has been set high. Now, when we come back, Geoff Roughface will join our own Drake Dykin, Josh and Lindsay for discussion about the BCS and a little NBA basketball. Stick around.
Back in action. How excited are you guys? Scale of 1 to 10.
I'm extremely excited. I mean, you look at this is a very promising team that we have here in the Oklahoma City area with the Thunder. So young with pieces like Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant that have very promising futures. It's good to see that they've gotten the season back and up and running. It's going to be a nice Christmas present too.
And Geoff, what's your take on the Thunder?
Absolutely, I'm right there with Drake. I mean, Kevin Durant's one of those kind of players, MJ-esque. I'm not going to say he is Michael Jordan, but he is the kind of guy that can make the players around him even better. I mean, who can say that Russell Westbrook would even be an all-star at this point if it weren't Kevin Durant? You know, all of his star-studded cast with Serge Ibaka and everyone else.
Are you a number 1 Thunder fan as well, too?
I mean, it's hard for me to be the number 1 Thunder fan as well, just because I also have to work the game for Fox Sports. But, you know, whenever I am there in the stands, I do try to make myself known.
He's in the BCS top 10, so
yeah.
I mean, he's in the ballpark.
I had a loss late last season, so it's kind of hurting me right now.
But it happened at the end of the year, so they
but I mean, that helps me at the beginning of the season. So
okay, yeah, good. It is the beginning of the season. And speaking of those BCS rankings, we could have some controversy. Alabama's up there number 2. Oklahoma State managed to beat OU. I know Geoff would be against it. I mean, who could win? Who do you guys think deserves to go there?
I mean, if it comes down to, you know, if heaven forbid Oklahoma State beats OU, then I mean, I've got to say, as far as the one-loss team goes, Alabama's already had their chance. Oregon is a 2-loss team by now. Oklahoma State, I think, is in a pretty good position. If they can put away Oklahoma, they can maybe get enough love because Alabama's going to be idle. I think they would have enough juice to maybe get themselves into that game, but they would have to really assert themselves against the Sooners in Stillwater.
Tough, Drake.
I think it's just a determination of how much people want to see the rematch between LSU and Alabama.
One more answer, yes or no? Do you want to see
I
a
think
rematch?
Alabama's better, but I think that OSU deserves a shot.
Okay, and guys, thanks for joining us. That's all the time we have for tonight.
You can catch our show next Monday night on OU TV, same time, same place. I'm Lindsay, he's Josh Kopelman, and on behalf of our entire student team here on our Sports Pad, good night. We'll see you next week. Why am I...